Hey, BC here for BC Nephro. Thanks for watching. I'm Dr. Brian Cronin, board certified nephrologist and clinical specialist in hypertension. Today, I'm going to talk about sleep. Now, sleep is something that has always been important to me, something that I've always focused on. I track with my watch here, not because of any particular health reason, but just I really don't like being tired. I think being tired kind of sucks. But it turns out sleep is probably one of the most important things you can do for your health. In addition to diet and exercise, there are numerous benefits. And I'm going to put some links in the description below to some research that really show some of these benefits, the importance of sleep. But today I'm going to tell you my personal experience with 5 things that have helped over the past year and a half improve my sleep score from about 80, an average of 80 on the Fitbit, which is on the border of fair and good, to 87, 88 average over the past 2 or 3 months. It's not unusual for me currently to get a sleep score above 90, which will be excellent, and it's really rare for me to get a score below 85. In addition to this, there's a positive impact not only on my health, but how I feel in general, my consciousness, my presence, my ability to focus, and really just enjoy life and have fun. Now, the 5th thing, in my experiences, has made the greatest impact. But before we get into these things, make sure you check out the other videos at this channel. Check out bcnephro.com, where you'll find articles on a wide range of nephrology subjects. I'm also on Instagram at bcnephro. But now, let's get into it. The first thing is put in the time. Now, this requires a mindset as well as an understanding. Now, the mindset is that sleep is important and to put in the time for that. The recommended amount of sleep is 8 hours on average, minimum of 7 hours for an adult. There are many people who state and believe that they don't need that much sleep. For me, that's the wrong question, because I don't want to just do the minimum amount that I need to get by. I want to do what I need to thrive. And for me, that's a minimum of 7 hours of sleep. Now, I remember when I was a intern, I did an elective on endocrinology, and we had to get up super early for this elective. We had to start rounds before 6 o'clock in the hospital, so we had to get up something like 5 o'clock. And one day there was a senior resident was commenting on how tired he was. And he was surprised that I wasn't tired. And I said, he couldn't believe it. He said, "Why are you not tired?" And I said, "Well, because I went to bed at 9 o'clock to get up at 5 o'clock. I just subtracted 8 hours and got up." And he really couldn't believe that I did that. But the funny thing is, later in the rotation, he came back to me and he said, "Hey, I went to bed at 9 o'clock last night and I feel great." So this is the difference between how much you need to get by and how much you need to thrive, be your best self, and really be able to enjoy what you're doing. Now, of course, life is life, and this is not always possible, but a focus on the time is important. The second is really an understanding that the amount of time we spend in bed is not the amount of time we are asleep. So we all know that it takes at least a few minutes to fall asleep, and we may wake up a few minutes before our alarm goes off, but there are many micro awakenings for a minute or so throughout the night that we may not even be consciously aware of. And normal, based on these sleep trackers, is to be awake for about 10%, maybe 45 to 60 minutes a night. So if you say you only need 6 hours of sleep and you're in bed for 6 hours, you're lucky if you actually sleep for 5.5 hours. Likewise, if you're in bed for 7 hours, you're probably only sleeping for 6 hours and 15 minutes. So my current goal is to be in bed for 8 hours and 15 minutes to achieve a sleep time of 7 hours and 15 minutes. Again, life is life. This is not always possible, but it is the goal. The second is alcohol. Now, about a year and a half ago, I decided to become a non-drinker, to not drink, and I really expected a significant improvement in my sleep. I think most people have the experience that drinking, even if it's just 2 drinks or so, affects sleep adversely. The sleep is more restless, less deep. There also is association with less REM sleep and really less restorative. So I expected after this there to be a significant improvement. My experience was that although my sleep definitely was less restless, less interrupted, that there was not really a significant improvement in my sleep score, at least initially. I still think this overall is a positive, and it may have primed me to get the benefits of some of the other things I did later, but that was my personal experience. The third thing is something called the 10-3-2-1 rule. I was sent an article on this, and I can put a link to an article in the description below, but essentially it's this. No caffeine for 10 hours before you go to bed. Stop eating no food for 3 hours before you go to bed. Stop work, emails, and things like this 2 hours before you go to bed. And stop screens, blue light 1 hour before you go to bed. So I was the type of person who would drink coffee well into the afternoon and had the belief and maybe experience that it didn't affect my sleep. After reading this, I took more Creed in the recommendations, and I stopped drinking coffee after noon, and then I've actually even cut back even more, so I limit myself to 3 12-ounce cups in the morning. The other thing that I found important is the avoidance of screen time. For me, having my cell phone in the bedroom is a mistake. Now, I had thought for a while that I would do a meditation on an app before I went to bed and this would help me. That turned out to be a nightmare because the next thing I know, I'm scrolling through all this YouTube stuff. And yeah, so that's my experience with screens. And definitely these things have had a positive impact on my sleep. Now, the fourth thing has to do with outside light. Now, the sleep researcher Matthew Walker, and I'll link some of his stuff in the description below, believes that it's important to get outdoor outside light in the morning. Apparently, even on a cloudy day, the intensity of the outdoor light is much brighter than any indoor light, and it really helps set this circadian rhythm. Now, I've done this a little bit different, so what I've decided to do is that after lunch, I will take an outside walk for about 15 minutes or so, unless it's pouring down rain. And I find this to be very helpful. I do like the outdoor lights, I do like the fresh air. Also is an opportunity for me to practice mindfulness, to just clear my mind and listen to the sounds and just be present out there. Now, of course, exercise can help sleep and the outdoor light, and this is something that I found useful. The biggest obstacle is a sense of being too busy, and I really have to ground myself and say, dude, I have 15 minutes, I can do this, everything else can wait, and it's become a good habit for me. Now, the fifth thing that I actually thought was very difficult that I wouldn't be able to do, but maybe these other things prime me for it. And my experience is it made the most difference. What I've done more recently is really being consistent with not only bedtime, but especially a wake up time. So the way I do this is on my days off, now with days I'm not working, weekends, my goal is to allow myself only 1 extra hour, keep my wake up time within 1 hour. So during the week, my typical wake up time is 6:30. And on my days off, weekends, my goal is to get up by 7:30. I've been able to do this. And this has made the most dramatic impact. I find my sleep is more efficient. I'm more tired when I go to bed. And this consistency really has been a correlation with the increase in the sleep score since I've decided to do this. So that's it, 5 things that I've done and the impact that they've had on sleep. And that's it, thanks for watching. Leave comments or questions below what you think about what the things you've tried, and until next time.